Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Episode 6 of Ahsoka has dropped, and with it, we have finally gotten some more insight on what Baylan actually wants. It seems that Baylan is playing his card extremely close to the chest, as we have yet to fully understand his motives, and what's more, even his Padawan. Shin doesn't seem to really grasp what they're after. Based on the question she asks and how vaguely Baylan insists on talking about it, it likely won't be until the very last minute that we'll really figure out what Baylan is up to. But by using select pieces of dialogue in the recent episode, as well as legends, we have figured out his main drive, and have come up with two theories as to how Baylan might pull this off. It's become quite clear that Baylan wishes to construct a Jedi Order of his own, though the why and how are still questions that need to be answered. We have decided to take a shot in today's video though. We may not have the red thread of fate, but perhaps we may yet foretell the future. First though, how sure are we what Baylan actually desires? It's found in the dialogue in his interactions with the other characters. The main idea that Baylan is pushing most of the time is the rhetoric of a beginning. He tells this to Shin a couple of times, and in this episode, she even questioned him about it, wondering what the wastelands of Peridea had in store for them. Baylan clearly isn't just looking for a place to settle down in peace. He wants something much more. This something is confirmed in the way that he talks about the old stories of Peridea and the power that supposedly permeates through the planet itself. But that's an idea that we'll come back to in just a moment. Nevertheless, it's clear that Baylan wants to settle down on Peridea and doesn't mind being left there, believing that on Peridea he can end the cycle of the Jedi and the Empire, rise and falls to power. Shin asks if it is their time to rule with strength, but Baylan says that he wants to correct the very beginning, to end the cycle, to create something of a new order, simply because of the way that Baylan has been set up to see the Jedi Order. Baylan is remiss at having to reduce the already small number of Jedi. When asked about missing the Jedi by Shin, Baylan responds that he missed the idea of it, but not the weakness in it. We learned that he was once a Jedi Knight not much older than Shin, but still apparently having the rank of Jedi General according to Thrawn. This tells us that he would have been old enough to recognize the growing problems within the Jedi leading up to the Great Purge. When Order 66 went down, it seems that Baylan was caught out in the open like many of the rest, even witnessing the burning of the Jedi Temple, but managed to pull himself together and embrace a larger part of the Force. We know that only those who are aligned with the dark side were receiving any visions through the veil during this time, such people like Jedi Pong Krell or Maul, who could see Order 66 and the rise of the Empire through the cloud of the dark side. It is likely that Baylan grew disillusioned with the teachings of the Jedi once he realized all of their vision had been blocked. Embracing the dark side, his sight would open, and it would give him the power necessary to survive, to live on to teach a Padawan of his own. While Baylan appreciates the Jedi, there is still quite some resentment there, particularly characterized when he speaks of their weakness, and how he refuses to claim that they are Jedi at all. And when Shin asks if she was trained like a Jedi, Baylan insists that he made her something so much more. This points to the teachings of the dark side that Baylan has embraced and has encouraged Shin to follow. His new Jedi Order would be the beginning of that, and that would be a more powerful and capable than the old Jedi. Baylan likely plans to begin his own academy and to teach the ways of the dark side, yet not in the way that the Sith wield it. But we believe that there is even more to Baylan. In an interesting turn of events, we don't really see Baylan droning on about how powerful the dark side is. He simply respects power in whatever form it can be found. This is to further separate him from the Sith, since Baylan and Shin aren't obsessed with the dark side. They just treat it like another aspect of their abilities within the Force. This much more broad view of the Force would likely be what Baylan assumes to be a balanced and perfect use of both sides. And this is where our first theory comes into play. Baylan wants to establish a temple on Peridea and create a new Jedi Order, one which uses the dark side. He will believe it is to protect the legacy of the Jedi, and he will be like a dark Luke Skywalker. Where Luke in current Star Wars canon is running far away from anything to do with the dark side, Baylan is taking more of an approach that Luke did in Legends, and allow his students to study the dark side actively. Though of course, Baylan's school will be all about conjoining the dark side with the ideology of the pure-hearted Jedi. This strange new order, which would merge the teachings of the Jedi, the dark side, and perhaps even the ways of the Dathomiri witches, would be a misguided attempt to create an order that has true balance in the Force. Unfortunately, this is what we have termed as false balance, and it is more leaning into the selfish and power-hungry ways of the darkness. Obviously, we have to make draws from this dark Jedi order to that of the Gen Sarai of Legends, warriors that fell to the same fate. In Legends continuity, the Gen Sarai were a fabled group of Force sensitives that spawned from the Jedi Order, breaking off sometime prior to the Clone Wars. The founder of their order, Nikos Tyrus, was in the forbidden archives of the Jedi Temple, and read through a journal of a Sith Lord who told a false account on the Second Great Jedi Schism. This account stated that the Jedi stole everything they knew from the Sith, but then banished the Sith to unknown space. The Jedi Tyrus would then use the Sith pureblood word Gen Sarai, which means the followers of the hidden truth, and would then go forward to make an order of his own based on what he believed to be the actual origins of the Jedi. His idea was to make a balanced and neutral organization, but without even knowing it, he was bringing his students down the path of darkness. Baylan's desire for power runs deeper than the dark side, and it seems that the foundation of this new order will be on the manipulation of the strange power that draws Baylan to Peridia. In episode 6, Baylan mentions how this is a strange power that calls out to him on the world, a power that he is innately in tune with, and one that likely his apprentice does not fully comprehend, which makes her dangerous. Shin warily remarks that it is likely this very power that everyone is trying to get away from, which is why there is a mad dash to leave Peridia. Baylan, though, refutes this by saying that the rest are afraid of a power beyond themselves, but it seems Baylan intends to use this power. While we don't know what this power could be, it is likely we'll find a nexus of Force energy, or perhaps even an ancient Dathomiri artifact containing unimaginable power, or perhaps it is something that we have seen before. Perhaps Baylan seeks the entrance to the world between worlds. Perhaps it is the world between worlds that marks a new beginning, and a more righteous way for the Jedi to follow. It's clear that Baylan believes what Luke Skywalker would later deduce, that the Jedi were blind to the dark side, but Baylan wants to use the dark side to clear his sight, to wield it as necessary power, a righteous fury of sorts, become peacekeepers yet again, but through the strength of the fires of the darkness. On Peridia, shortly before Baylan and Shin go after Ezra and Sabine, we picked up on the facial expressions Baylan was making, especially when Thrawn gave the order for him and his Padawan to kill Ezra and Sabine. Baylan will definitely honor the agreement that he had with Sabine, and he was going to find Ezra for himself, likely to make Ezra reactivate the portal to the world between worlds. In the strangest theory yet, we believe that it could be a possibility that Baylan wants to go back to the very beginning, going back to the creation of the Jedi Order, where he can manipulate them into using the teachings of the dark side. But to what end? To end the cycle that Baylan mentioned, to have the Jedi embrace the power they need to keep themselves and the galaxy safe and clear of betrayal. Our working idea is that this all may lead up to the tie-in with the First Jedi film, with the relationship between the First Jedi and this in Baylan being very important. It's incredibly likely that Peridia has something to do with the first of the Jedi and the first Force wielders and how they came to the galaxy that we know. It could be then where Baylan intends to either kill or corrupt the First Jedi, bringing about the creation of a dark Jedi Order long before the Sith are ever created. A more righteous fury Jedi. But what do you think of these wild theories and Baylan's goals? What do you think Baylan means by breaking the eternal cycle of power in the galaxy? What are your thoughts on Baylan saying that he liked what the Jedi once represented, but not the weakness that came with it? And as always, my friends, feel free to leave your thoughts and theories in the comments down below. And may the Force be with you, and have a great day.